Hello and welcome to the Move Your Business Forward podcast. These talks are hosted by Boll, founder of Evoke Management and CEO of International Leaders UK. He'll be talking with experts from both these companies about issues that affect SME companies today.
My name is Boll. I'm CEO of International Leaders UK and founder of Evoke Management. Today, I'm here with one of our industry experts from International Leaders UK, Chris Burton. He's a portfolio marketing director, and within the leaders community, he's our expert on marketing strategy. And he's here today to talk to us about the customer experience. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, Rob. Thanks for having me on the show.
On the show, I like that. So, Chris, why are we talking about customer experience today?
Well, it's becoming so central now to a lot of focus in marketing, and taking a step back, why is that? Well, if we look at the world's becoming a lot more outcome focused at the moment, and it's not the outcomes of policies that matter; it's the outcomes of climate change that matters, right? And that's where everyone's focused at the moment. It's not the output and outcome of our work. It's the output and outcome of our work is important, not that we're doing it away from the office. So, outcome is becoming a lot more central to what we're focused on. The same is very much true in marketing, and the customer experience, the experience that customers have, is absolutely central to delivering better outcomes. Marketing is becoming, with measurability, a lot more outcome focused in itself. We've been able to measure all different types of activity and responses much more cost effectively. It means that we can measure the outcome of marketing actions, marketing programs, and really the customer experience is something which can be set up to be measured, and you can measure the outcome and the impact of that. And really, let's think about on this chat we're having today, the customer experience is about the offer, the company's offer to its customers, and therefore. The more fine-tuned that offer is, the better the outcome is, and the more success and growth you can derive from the customer experience.
And Chris, when I know for a fact that you're working with multiple SME companies, you're helping them with their marketing strategy. So you're seeing what lots of SME companies are doing well and helping them improve what they're doing. And one of the things I find with marketing, and a stat I was told once, the 20% of marketing works, and that or some stat like that, which always makes me a little bit frustrated when I'm doing my own marketing or investing into it. With this kind of concept of focusing on customer experience, how can you use that to really create value, for your business?
Sure. So let's think about this in terms of the customer experience as how a business goes to market. That's what marketing really is. It's how the business chooses to go to the market to attract and connect with the right customers, the customers who are going to be most valuable for a business. And with customer experience, that's essentially how it creates value. It's all about enabling a business to be a valuable solution for the right customers. Not the customers that dilute the profit margin and distract the business from moving forward, but actually customers, it's like dealing with them like pushing on an open door. So it makes the business a valuable solution for the right customers. That's how it creates value. Also, in doing so, if you can really get the customer experience fine-tuned and right and valuable, it creates customers who love what the business does. And what I mean by that is not in a sort of emotive sense, but actually in terms of them strongly recommending the business to others. And the metrics were done on the value for that about in 2016, I think, by Bain, big consultancy, international consultancy. And they said on average, a customer that strongly recommends creates 8 times their own lifetime value in follow-on business. So that's significant value that the customer experience creates. Also, it creates customers that want more and more. So not just of what they've bought already, but maybe what they could buy from you. So it maximizes their lifetime value to the business. And also it helps, and once you've connected and got that customer experience and offer really right, and you've got strong recommendation coming through, and we'll talk about how that can be measured a bit later, but it can also help inform innovation strategy for a business, where to focus, on what to focus, how to focus on it. So yeah, that's really how customer experience can create really strong value for a business.
And just thinking, and that makes perfect sense, Chris, but when I think about explaining customer experience to someone and how to kind of really focus on it, I kind of see certain businesses it's easy because if you own a restaurant or you've got something visual that people go into and experience. To me, you get that whole 360 feel of what you're absorbed in, and we hear about omni-channel, that you go on someone's website and it's the same as if you're going to walk into their store or pick up the phone to someone, and everything feels and looks the same. But some businesses aren't I don't know, as sexy as that, or they just don't have that ability to engage and absorb the customer. So for them, how would you kind of define or help give examples of how you can really leverage that experience?
Yeah, sure. So it's really it's in setting up a successful customer experience for any business. It involves really understanding the problem that the business is there to solve, to start with, the context of that. So it's not just about, I need, I don't know, I need some nails, or I need power drills, whatever. It's about, hang on, what does success look like? And then when you start to take a step back, here's the customers that we want to get to. They're the most valuable customers. You search for what's called an insight, and the insight is the context of the need. What's their real problem? And when you step back and understand their real problem, that puts you in pole position to really create new value for them. So it might be that it's all about the delivery of getting the product or to the point of consumption. That's a big gap at the moment, that people are so focused on creating the product, they're not focused on getting that product out to the market in a really efficient ways. And there could be ways of actually becoming a lot more valuable by creating an experience where people have got the option of different delivery options or different timings. And we saw that big time with about 10 years ago in the high street with brands like Argos, where at the time home delivery was supposed to be the new convenience, and they said, well, actually it's not. It's sometimes really inconvenient for it to be delivered to home. If you have click and collect, and you can then choose exactly when you want, and it's there, you can go buy whenever it suits you. Now that sort of example is a consumer marketing, consumer retail example, but that can be translated into any business. And actually, most of the businesses I work with in a business to business context, we literally step back. The first thing we do is, who are the most valuable customers we need to get to? They're going to be really valuable for this and profitable for this business. Let's pull it apart in terms of what their needs really are. And now let's look at what we offer and where the gaps are. And then you can then fill those gaps, and you create a much more valuable customer experience. And involving everyone in the business in that from all functions, I mean, not everyone totally in numbers, but from across the functions, is really important, because you can then understand how to unlock new value. And together as a team, you can redefine the customer experience from start to actually point of consumption and beyond that as well. And typically there's a very simple process for that, and that is break it down into sections, into steps, for example, 3 or 4 steps maybe, and then you each define what does success look like for step 1. If we were to finish and complete, what happens? How do we create strong recommendation just in step 1? And that may well be before someone's actually bought from the business. It may be just the initial engagement, and going through that. These are the critical things that need to be delivered to achieve this outcome. Bang, that's what we need to do. Step 2, step 3, step 4. And before you know it, you've got standards identified, what success looks like at each stage, and people across the business have helped define that. I've got ownership around it and know what we need to do to deliver it. So that's the start, the bones, if you like, of a new customer experience definition.
And I guess the next phase from that is making sure you can actually start to measure this, and only when you're measuring it, you can start to improve it, right? So what's the kind of thoughts around how the different methods you can measure customer experience?
Yeah, sure. So there are a number of ways of doing this, but the ones that win through every time are the ones that give you the information you need in the shortest period of time with customer involvement. So typically there's a good example of this is something called the Net Promoter Score methodology. Mm-hmm. And it's a very simple thing to describe. In those steps I just said, let's say there are 4 steps in the customer journey, customer experience. You define at what points you need to understand how well the business has done with the customer. And really thereafter, you can't do that too often because people get fed up with receiving requests for a response, etc. But what you do is carefully choose moments where there's been a sufficient interaction in that customer experience, whether it be through the specification process or the ordering process or the delivery process or the usage process. And then you identify what the points you need to measure. So you need to understand how well the business has done at that point in the customer experience in terms of willingness to recommend. So if you can get a customer in a space that eats throughout the customer journey and the customer experience where they're strongly recommending, then that has to be the goal. And so what happens with the Net Promoter Score is that first of all, they get told that they're going to receive something, and it's going to be really important for them to respond to it. It'll take less than a minute to respond, and they'll see clear benefits from it in terms of the service that they receive. So the important thing here is to warn them up, make sure they know what's coming and how it's coming, whether it's text, email, whatever medium you think is most appropriate for the people you need to respond, the response is from. That gets then sent to them, they see it, they open it, and it literally, on a scale of 0 to 10, how willing are you to recommend this company based upon your most recent experience, where 10 is fantastic and 0 is complete disaster. They rate it, and then crucially, the next question, could you please tell us why you've rated the experience? And that's open-ended. You don't have options for that. That is the crucial piece of information as to what went spectacularly right or what went spectacularly wrong, or points in between. By asking those two simple questions, you know their willingness to recommend, and also you know the drivers for what's the drivers for that within the customer experience. So you can obviously go out and set about and prioritizing fixing what didn't go so well, and actually getting behind what really did go so well, and getting that out there so other customers know. So it's a really smart way of measuring the customer experience in a number of different markets. It's not market exclusive. This happens right across the board, from banking to insurance to manufacturing to personal service. It literally applies to any sector, and that's a great efficient way of measuring it. And as you mentioned up front, the old quote of only 20% of my marketing is working. Well, those days are gone now, because actually everything is measurable. Yep. And if you're doing something in marketing and you're not measuring it, well, how can you manage it? How do you know where it's working? You can measure it, and you can therefore manage it. Mm-hmm. So, and in customer experience terms, that whole Net Promoter Score is not the only methodology, but it's highly widely used. And if you do nothing else but that, then you can't really go wrong.
I remember listening to everything you're saying, Chris. I'm just thinking back to some of the best companies that I've either worked with or just experienced the brand and the feeling you get, walking in, and also on the one of the advisory board members of Leaders, Ian Philby, he used to run DFS, and I remember him talking a couple of times about how they used to measure exactly that customer experience journey, and the staff would be graded or rated upon what the response was to those certain touch points they were involved with. So whether it's a customer walking into a store, how they were greeted, how they were helped by the people, all the way through to that sofa's turned up and is going through your front door and squeezing into your lounge or wherever it's going. Yeah, everyone is being rated. Every customer is given the ability to rate on those experiences, which can then feed back and be used to teach staff, feedback to staff, motivate staff, and improve that process. And I think everything you've said there is just really reiterates all of that good stuff that certain companies seem to do very, very well and have got it nailed. The other thing that I think, listening to this, I'm constantly thinking, this doesn't sound like marketing to me. It more sounds like kind of process improvement and all that kind of stuff. But from your perspective, I'm assuming this is what it's all about, not only to get more money out of your existing client base because they want to engage with you more, and they almost like they want to hang around with you because they've enjoyed that experience so much, but also helps referrals. But what about attracting new customers? How do you shout about your customer experience journey? How do you share that with people that haven't come across you before?
Yeah, great question. So you've hit the nail on the head. This is marketing. It's how a business goes to market. So if we focus on that how, and for those listening to this who know Simon Sinek and the whole start with why, and you've got the central purpose of why a business does what it does, then the next circle out, therefore how it goes to market. That's what we're talking about here. So customer experience is very much anchored in the offer and how the business goes to market. And fundamentally, what needs to happen with that is that it's all about how the customers and the social proof of what you've done and how you've gone to market with other customers that really can help you strike through with new customers. And you see this a lot with, for example, Trustpilot is used, and when you and I, we're consumers ourselves, in a B2B and a B2C context. When we look at suppliers or alternatives, we look for reviews. We look for how people, what's it like to deal with this? What's it like to work with this company if I was to work with it? And so therefore, there's a lot around proof, evidence, reviews. And if, for example, give an extreme example of this, Airbnb. So if you go onto Airbnb and you start to look for locations and you find a location somewhere, immediately what you've got is the host, and then the host is rated on their ability to deliver great customer experience, how accurate they are, how quick they are to respond. They're all elements of customer experience, aren't they? And also underneath that, you've got a range of people reviewing that host, that location. Essential information, and one that you can really, I mentioned when we talked about the method of measuring, where you've got really strong recommendation. We want to be shouting about that, but shouting about it in a way that comes from the customer, that not comes from the brand, but comes from the customer. Because then it's authentic, it's real, and it's probably the most valuable for those looking to connect with the business who haven't worked with the business before. That's just one way. There are all sorts of ways you can bring it alive through case studies, through video interactions, bringing things alive and how value's been added. So there are many different ways, but it depends on the context as to which is most appropriate.
Sure, that makes sense, Chris. Thanks for sharing those. So we're actually going to have to wrap this up very soon. We feels like we could talk about this for a lot longer, because there's a lot to cover. If someone listening to this is thinking about one of their marketing strategies, customer experience, what would be your kind of top three things they could work through in terms of getting on with this, or trying to embed some of this in how they're doing things?
Yeah, sure. I'm really clear on that. So first of all, you got to know who you're defining it for. So it's really all around what are the types of customers, the groups of customers that are most valuable, that you want to be able to attract, and craft this customer experience around, and what is that context of their need. Remember up front we said who you're designing it for, what's the problem that you're solving for them. And then I would advise to get people from around the business who see the business from different angles, build a team, customer experience team, and then set about defining those different stages, those different steps of the customer journey, and bringing the offer alive. So what's important here, the third element, is what are you designing the customer experience to do? And really, you want to be a different, more valuable solution for those audiences. So what are the ways that you could become more valuable at each of those stages? So they're the three things, just to repeat: who you're designing it for, design it and in steps and stages, and then bring that whole offer alive, so you're different and more valuable at each stage.
Excellent. Well, there's three stages there. I think are easy for anyone to give some thought to and go and implement. I think the other top tip for me would be just go and look what other people are doing as well, and think about it. Go to one of your favorite brands or your favorite shops or something that you interact with, and think about what's the customer journey you're going on, and how can you apply that to my business. Also talk to other people in business, other people running businesses. Leaders community is great for that. You're talking to other people running companies, and just understanding what they do, how are they doing things differently, what can you learn from that. I think it's a fascinating place to be able to have some input into in terms of what you do, Chris. But I just think every business has to really focus on that experience, that customer experience, and making sure it's really front of mind in terms of how their customers perceive them, because everything about it is a win-win for a company for generating more business and more repeat business. Chris, I've really enjoyed talking to you today, and thanks very much for spending the time with us. We'll probably have to do another one of these on something else marketing wise, I'm sure. But thanks very much, Chris. We'll talk again soon.
That's a pleasure, Rob. Thanks a lot.
Thanks for listening. If you'd like more information about the topics discussed in this podcast, then you can find us on our website at moveyourbusinessforward.com.